Welcome to today's video, which is part 2 of my holiday series. Following the traditional gingerbread cookies, we're heading somewhere a little more exotic. Today, we're making Argentine empanadas. Now, empanadas aren't exactly a Christmas dish per se, they're more of a happy moments dish. But Christmas counts as a happy moment, right? You know, Santa, presents, all that jazz. This is my first official run-in with the empanada. Up until this point, the only thing I knew about it was its name. However, photos on the internet made it look very delicious, so here we are. This is I Can't Cook Empanadas. First on the agenda is making the dough. Now, I'm not someone who's done a lot of baking in his lifetime, so I will be making some mistakes. But hey, we're all here to learn after all. Let's start by measuring out the flour in a large bowl. Salt goes in and I give it a good mix. Turns out I picked the worst bowl in the house because the flour immediately escapes. Twice. I whisk an egg, add it in, then add the melted butter, and the flour continues to flee the scene. Olive oil goes in and I slowly start adding the water while mixing in between. The goal is simple, combine everything without leaving dry flour lumps. At some point I decide the spatula is useless, so I go in with my hands. I oil them up and keep working the dough. To smooth things out, I dust the counter and knead for a few minutes. Once I deem it to be good enough, it receives the mandatory spanks one must give when making dough. Oil the bowl, drop the dough in, cover it, and send it to the fridge for an overnight nap. Next day. Time for the filling. I set a pot of water to boil and start chopping an onion. Twice. Before realizing I'm cutting it the wrong way. Thankfully, it's never too late to fix your mistakes. Hashtag motivational or something? I don't know.
Anyway,
I set it aside, then proceed to peel and mince the garlic. I pick the parsley off the stems, bunch it up as tightly as I can and chop it as fine as my patience allows. I start chopping the onions and midway through the water boils, so I gently lower in the eggs to cook for 7 minutes. I finish with the white onions, heat the pan, then move on to the green onions. Next up, pepper. Deseed and chop into little cubes. Eggs out, set aside. Olive oil goes in the pan and so do the onions. I let them sweat for about 10 minutes, stirring often. While waiting, let's peel some eggs. Well, the 10 minutes are up, so the garlic and peppers go in for another 10. I dice the eggs, season the veggies, add a splash of water to deglaze the pan and help break up the mince. Meat goes in. Once it breaks into crumbs, I cook until the water evaporates. I transfer the mixture to a pot, add parsley, green onions and eggs and mix. And shockingly, it actually looks a bit festive, if you put some imagination into it. You've got all the Christmas colours. White eggs, green herbs, red peppers, ho 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 I guess. I cover up my festive concoction and let it chill in the fridge for about an hour. Half an hour before that's up, I also take out the dough so it can warm up. Hour's up, so let's assemble. Mince comes out of the fridge and we head over to the table. I split the dough in half and leave one of the halves back in the bowl so it doesn't dry out. I start rolling and it's too sticky. Shoulda known.
think, Mark!
Okay. Everything's fine, I've got flour, I'm gonna dust some on top, put some on the rolling pin, and that's gonna make it real easy to roll it out. Nope, now the dough is glued to the table. Alrighty then. Roll it back into a bowl, dust everything, and let's give it another go. Didn't dust the top of the dough this time. Okay, one more try. Ooh, it's kinda happening. Bit more flour on top, a few good pats, and we're actually getting somewhere. Another dusting and I'm trying to stretch it out as thin as I can without it actually breaking or sticking to the rolling pin. I don't really have a very good feel for this type of stuff, so I decide to not risk it and leave it as is. I cut a circle using my 16cm bowl, and it's too sticky to lift. Okay, dough goes back into the bowl, I go back to kneading, and my sanity goes, well, anywhere but here. I divide the dough again because in my brain, smaller portions equals easier rolling. Dust absolutely everything and it actually looks like we might be getting somewhere. Still not great, but we're definitely getting somewhere. Cut the circle, remove the scraps and let's fill up our first empanada. 2 tablespoons of filling go in the center. I wet the edges and try to close it. Looking back, I definitely overstuffed it, but it somehow closed. Trim the edges with a fork, lift, and place into a baking tray lined with parchment paper. The empanada, of course, splits open immediately. Thankfully, it's nothing that can't be easily fixed. And that's basically the gist of it. Roll, cut, and fill with whatever you want. I did that another 17 times. Why, yes, it did take me 5 hours to cook this. How'd you know? Eventually, I get confident and try rolling bigger sheets to cut 2 circles at once. But I only have one bowl to hold down the dough, so it becomes harder, not easier. If you have multiple identical bowls, use them. Once the tray is full, I brush their tops with some egg wash, and in a preheated oven they go for 25 to 30 minutes at 190 degrees. And not to toot my own horn or anything, but for a first attempt, I think they look pretty good. Yes, I'm sure your abuela makes them better, but hey, it's the attempt that counts. I will say this though, empanadas are too delicious and too annoying to make, so now I love and hate them simultaneously. Definitely saving the recipe for a special occasion though. So, how do they rate? I'm giving them a solid
nice
out of 10. That's all for today. Join me in a few days for part 3 of the holiday series. Merry Christmas everybody, and I will see you in a bit.